Alright, episode 101, and we're finally back home. Well, we're at least in North America. Today, we are talking about the 9-banded armadillo, but with all of the one-off species in this game, we're going to be pretty much talking about armadillos as a whole, but the 9-band is kind of what everyone knows, so we're probably not going to get off topic too often. Now, with our star pupil, this is a very wide-reaching animal, being found as far south as Uruguay and as far north as Nebraska, USA. This makes them one of the most abundant animals, geographically speaking, in the New World. Though they are pretty limited to warmer climates and not too dry climates either, which is kind of interesting seeing how it is well known, at least culturally speaking, as a desert animal, but that is not such the case. They would most likely only go as far as scrublands, which are those parts that kind of look like deserts but still have tons of like cacti and shrubs and Joshua trees, things like that. This is seen really well with their distribution in the US, with the Mojave's dry climate and the cold of the Rockies pretty much shutting them out from the entirety of the West Coast. Now, I'm not sure if I was just a fool as a kid, but for the longest time, I wasn't quite sure what armadillos ate, and if you were like me back in the day, let me put that to rest. They are insectivores, which is not that surprising when you realize one of their closest relatives is the anteater. And since we're on the topic of their family tree, let's get into their history, shall we? And armadillos are a very old species. Surprisingly, the oldest armadillo, and I do mean this very literally, that we found was from shell fragments 55 million years ago. And they diversified a ton in those 55 millennium. Only 21 are still alive today. Now, they originally evolved in South America alone and had actually evolved at some points to be the dominant species in the grasslands of what is now Latin America. And these would be known as glyptodons, the most famous of which most likely being Deodicarus because of its giant spiked mace-like tail. Now, while the creation of Panama meant the death of the giant armadillos, the smaller ones would still thrive to this day. As a matter of fact, while the 9-bander is known to be pretty much in just the south of the US, it is predicted that they will eventually start expanding their range due to evolution and climate change. As a matter of fact, there are some ideas that in time they will migrate eastward, being as far north as the halfway line between Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and possibly even reaching the Cape of Massachusetts. Now, we did just recently, as I'm recording this, probably get a cumulative foot of snow, so I don't think they're going to be showing up anytime soon, but that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Now, interestingly, armadillos have a ton of cultural influence, but nothing very direct, like I prefer. What I mean by this is, think about what you know armadillos from. How many of them have to do with faith, major forms of literature or film, or cultural story? Exactly. You probably can't think of any. They're more often used as mascots for stores, minor sports teams, and like characters in film. But that doesn't mean there's nothing. As a matter of fact, there is an Andean instrument, somewhat resembling a lute, known as the charango. So there is at least a little something for them. But the most interesting part about them, in my opinion, has to be scientific. Now, while we may not think of the armadillo having a very physically impressive stature, the armadillo's got hops. As a matter of fact, some reports state, and I quote, "A significantly startled armadillo can jump 3 to 4 feet in the air." This is insane because that would be like the average man being able to do a straight vertical jump of 27 feet. Now, for a significantly less goofy fact, Armadillos are also one of the only animals to systemically contract leprosy due to their low body temperature of 93 degrees. May not sound low to you and me, but that isn't our internal body temperature, that's the temperature of our skin, which is why leprosy tends to show up as skin issues and not internal. But with that, I would recommend not really messing with wild armadillos, though they're probably completely fine in captivity. And let's wrap this up with something quite fascinating, in my personal opinion. The armadillo is the only mammal that performs reliable polyembryony. This is when multiple babies come from a single egg cell. To us, it is better known as having twins, but for the armadillo, it's more like quadruplets. And unlike with people, where it's rare, this is, as I said, reliable. It happens almost every time. And in theory, this is already wild, but let me pull up a list of the other life forms that reliably perform polyembryony. Several forms of plant species, specific insects like parasitoid wasps, flatworms, and a few species of skate and cat shark. So the fact that a mammal is capable of this makes them extremely unique. And with all that said and done, that is the end. That's everything I got for you. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And just like the last one, I do hope you leave me some constructive criticism, because this is still very new to me, and I just really hope that it's at least somewhat more interesting or more engaging than my old ones. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, do all the YouTube stuff, and go outside, touch grass, hug your loved ones, drink water. Bye-bye.